if it's working or not. Creator dashboard, and then stream manager. All right, I should, in theory, be streaming. Greetings, Ping. Hopefully you guys can hear me properly and that I actually have my sound canceling on and everything is good. Or not sound canceling, but my what is it? Sound dampening? Noise dampening. All right. I hope you guys can hear me. I hope everything is all right now. Did I fix it? It looks like it. Test, test, test. I hear you. Awesome. Do you hear the fan? So, hi, I'm Ray, and we are streaming blacksmithing. Although I feel like right now we're troubleshooting sound. So, I hear you, but light. Okay, so if that's the case, then I can turn up the volume because I turned it down initially because I was having some issues with the noise cancellation. It wasn't functional, and so I'm trying really hard to like figure it out. That's better. Yes. Thank you so much for sticking with me while I troubleshoot that sound. I feel like every single time I get something fixed, it breaks a week later. All right, let's do some blacksmithing. What did I do with my thingy? Oh, it's over there. Okay. So, I'm really scuffy already today. Not even just the sound, because I forgot to buy propane today. Yeah, that's the kind of day we're having today. I forgot to buy propane. So we are stuck using the mailbox because it doesn't use as much propane. Hopefully, the trickle of propane that the mailbox uses will allow us to get a full 3 hours of mailbox use. I do have another container of propane that's kind of partially empty. So if we run out of this propane, we'll probably hook up the other one and see how long we can last. I will have more propane on Friday. Promise. That's a streamer's life. Gotta wear all the hats some days, right? Also, the mailbox is cool AF. Awesome. I'm glad you guys like the mailbox. All right. So, today we are continuing working on our new set of pickup tongs on Monday. That's what day it was. We did this. We turned one of these guys into this. So now we're going to go and we're going to make this one into one of these. So, because tongs have two sides to them. So I'm going to put this in the floor to start heating it up, and we can kind of talk a little bit. And hopefully my stress level lowers because, now I get to play blacksmith, and that's very zen for me. All right. So we got a decent amount done on this half of the tong on Monday, and I'm pretty happy with that. But now that we've got these bends in here, it's a little bit more difficult to get this guy inside of the mailbox. I do want to work on this section or like the reins section of these tongs and make them a little bit longer and a little bit thinner. So we might play around with that a little bit later today, but I'm kind of mostly going to focus on making a second jaw section on the other hand. Oops, missed you coming back. Sounds normal now? I think the sound is normal now. It looks like it's normal. I am getting the same amount of levels on OBS that I would normally get with just the lav mic on. But if I'm having issues and I need to fix something else, do let me know. I did the whole turn it off and back on, and that usually fixes it. So fingers crossed it worked. Alrighty. Raw. So we've got an ad incoming, and that's the normal, like, beginning of the stream ad. So hopefully that, doesn't force you guys to watch like a million ads since you just got done watching some. But we shall see. So let's see. I just released a new video up on YouTube at 10 a.m. this morning. It is the overview of the rows that we did, the guy that's sitting up there. So I kind of condensed that. It's all right, but that video and next week's video, which is the full rake, I filmed those before I really started working on the Indiana stuff. And I learned so much from editing the Indiana footage that I just don't even approach editing in the same way that I did before. So this video and next week's video, I'm not amazingly happy with them, but I still felt like I needed to push through and see if I could get something that was like viewable. So I'm not amazingly happy with this video and next week's video, but I want, I did learn stuff and I wanted to make sure that I posted those. So the week after next, we will start with the new editing approach and filming approach that I've kind of come to learn. So hopefully, those turn out pretty decent. I already have started on that video, and so far it's turning out pretty good. It's a little on the long side right now. I need to cut it down a little bit more, but we've got lots of variety for our B-roll footage with like lots of close-ups and that sort of thing. So hopefully that's a much more pleasant video to watch. So, let's see. It looks like we've got heat going, or like the steel is heating pretty fast, so I'm pretty happy with that. We should be able to get a lot of work done. And we will be going from the anvil to the press and back again a few times today, just because I'm still a little tired from Monday's stream, but overall, we're gonna get this done. I think we're still on track. Can I ask about the tea in Smithy? Yeah, you are more than welcome to. And I know that it is a lowercase t and all of the rest of the letters are uppercase. But each of the Smithy letters is a different blacksmithing technique. And I really wanted to have a different technique featured for each letter. And so the T is made out of a Friedrich's cross or a blacksmith's cross. So I cut into a piece of steel and I unfolded it. It's a really basic blacksmithing project. So I know that it is lowercase, but it's featuring a different technique than the Y. Because if I had done an uppercase Y, an uppercase T, it would probably have been done in the same method that I used for the Y. And so that's kind of the logic I had for that. But if you have it, or if I've already answered that question, but if I have it, feel free to ask. And I will also be posting a video of the Ray Smithy sign within the next month. I will have that up on YouTube. And but I'm still in the process of, I still have a few finishing touches that I need to do for that sign, or the raised part of that sign. And so once I put that together, we'll have a nice montage of all of those techniques as well on that video. What else is going on? While I'm waiting to see if I answered your question or not. I think we are going to start ordering some of the parts that we want to put into the van this weekend. And hopefully those come relatively quickly so we can start working on that, I guess next weekend, and get that camper up and running. I would also love to kind of do a video about a mobile blacksmithing setup. I want to do, pick some we'll do the mailbox as part of it, and feature some a mini anvil and some stuff that I find essential for blacksmithing on the go. I am intrigued. We fix anything but cats, cars, and so my shirt. Broken hearts. We can't fix the broken hearts. And then we have a broken chair, and the broken chair is sad, and we have a happy chair because we fixed it. And so this shirt came from the Memphis Metals Museum in Memphis, Tennessee. Awesome. Thank you so much, Ping. Thank you so much. So yeah, it is, we fix everything but cars, cats, and broken hearts. Like I said, this came from the Memphis Metals Museum, and every year they do a fundraiser where metalsmiths and metal artists from all over the world come to Memphis and fix broken items that are brought in by community members who pay to have them fixed. And all of the metal artists will donate their labor and their effort and some consumables and things like that, and they'll fix all of the stuff, and then all of the proceeds go towards funding the Memphis Metals Museum for another year. And so this shirt is from, I don't even remember what year it was. It was probably 6 years ago. That was the last time I went to Repair Days. And that usually happens in September every year in Memphis, Tennessee. That shirt is great. Love it. Thanks. It was a great idea. This is one of my favorite Memphis Metals Museum shirts. I have many of them because I learned a lot of my blacksmithing knowledge from the Memphis Metals Museum. And a lot of other things. Like I learned how to soft solder there, kind of weird. So they have workshops throughout the year that you can go and learn about blacksmithing, casting, as well as restoration. And every 2 years they have an apprenticeship. And it's a 2-year apprenticeship, and they will teach you how to become a professional blacksmith. It's kind of like a college program. It's not necessarily accredited by any educational institution, but I mean, it is very well regarded in the blacksmithing field. So yeah. I have a lot of friends up in Memphis at the Metals Museum. All right, so I'm going to do my first heat on the other half of these tongs. So let's do that. And before I do that, I'm going to hit record on my cameras. Whoops. I totally just bumped that one. That way I get a good opening for this project. All right, let's do this. And just like on Monday, we're going to get a lot of scale. And the reason that we're going to get a lot of scale is because of that extra heat that is being pumped out by the mailbox. It's so small that it just heats things really, really fast. All right. And I'm going to get more heat because I'm pretty happy with the size of that. Maybe I want to make it a little bit smaller, but not too much smaller. And then I'll need to isolate that. We're going to be going back and forth between both sides of these tongs just to make sure that I make them identical. We want them to be clamshell-esque so that they fit together very nicely and we don't get any more rotations on our large pieces of stock that we hold with these guys, like we did the last one. Lots and lots of scale. You know what? I told you guys that I was going to clean out the mailbox so that it didn't spit out green flames anymore, and I forgot to do that. Welcome in, Yankee. So we are totally making this set of tongs. I want to finish them by Friday so that on Monday I can start my first axe. So, you know, I'm trying really hard to get into that axe so that you guys can see me, you know, making something interesting. You can give me pointers, Yankee. So the plan is to do a folded axe for this first one. So we'll kind of start with more like we'll probably start with a square piece of steel and then we'll draw it out into a strip. And then we will be forge welding it together around a bit. And that's how we will form the axe. So it's probably going to be, I think we're going to do 4140 for the base. And then I'm not sure if I'm going to do a separate style bit or of 1095 or something. I haven't decided yet, but we'll see what what I can come up with for the bit. But yeah, because I don't have a axe eye drift or an axe eye punch, so I think, and I do want to finish one by the end of the summer. So we're gonna do the fold form one, and then we'll make the tools to make the next axe. Oh, nice inlaid, super nice. Yeah, so that's the plan. And I do at some point really want to do some Damascus steel, and I also think that a Damascus steel axe would be really cool. I don't have any plans for getting any, or like the steel for a Damascus axe just yet, but it is on my list of bucket list projects. I also want to do a Damascus kitchen or chef's knife eventually. And then we'll get, even more inlay. But those will be down the road. I gotta save up a few more pennies. Alrighty. Let's do another heat. You know what? I'm gonna change tongs real fast. I'm sorry, guys. These should be better tongs for this particular job. There we go. There, much nicer. we are starting to get a weird upper or overbite, I guess. So I'm gonna hammer that back a little bit. There we go. Now we're gonna isolate this piece right here. Not too bad. This kind of similar looking. I'll keep on working on that. So what else is going on in the world of raised smithy? I don't know. I mean, I just fixed the sound for the most part, so I mean that was a big thing for me. The problem was that OBS updated, and because OBS updated, it started like looking at some other things weirdly. Also, Windows updated. So I'm going to assume that either one or the other of those is what actually broke that sound. But I was able to fix it, and after I restarted the computer, you know, because sometimes when things break, you just got to unplug them and plug them back in, and then it functions again. I have a question about my anvil. It was my grandfather's, but the edges are all chipped. Can it be fixed? So I'm gonna say that without looking at the edges of your anvil, I'm not really gonna be able to give you a an incredibly. I would rather give a more specialized answer. So there are a couple different answers to this, right? So some people are going to tell you that you should grind down the plate so that you get good sharp corners, right? And some people are going to tell you that if you will end up having to grind off too much of that material, and as long as you have another piece of material that has good sharp corners that you can use on top of your anvil, that you are fine, right? So it's kind of, I can't really tell you specifically about your specific anvil unless I were to see it. If you want me to give you a more specific anvil, you can post a picture of it on the Discord in like the project ideas or in one of the topics, and I can give you a more informed assessment. Some of the older anvils, they do have a small amount of plate, like this guy right here. It only really has about an inch of the tool steel plate, and the rest of this is actually wrought iron. And so I lost the plate here, so I would have to put a new plate on here, and I could get really sharp corners on that, but I just use it as is. And if I really need heavy, like sharp corners, I will actually pick up a different piece of steel, similar to this piece right here that has really nice sharp corners on it. You can kind of see that. If I was looking for really sharp corners, I just put this on my plate and use this on top of the anvil. Does that answer your question? Or, I mean, like I said, if you'd like a more specific, tailored answer, you can totally post a picture of it in the Discord, and I will take a look and see what I can give you. But yeah, it's kind of one of those where it's sometimes you can fix it, sometimes it's better not to. Like this particular anvil, it's missing the plate completely. I still use it just because I don't really want to add another plate on here. It's a lot of effort to add a complete plate onto a piece or onto an anvil, because what I would actually have to do is heat up the entire anvil to the same temperature of the welding bead that I put on the that I use to weld the plate on. and then I would have to retemper the whole thing. And that is a process that I'm just not ready to do. And this anvil functions perfectly well as is. So, you know, it's how much effort. So it sounds like it would be usable with just additional parts. Yeah, I mean, like I said, without looking at it and being able to assess it visually, I can't tell you, or I can't give you an exact answer. But I mean, almost anything is repairable. It's more like, is it worth repairing or not? You know what I mean? And I mean, sometimes it is, sometimes it's not, you know? It's kind of also, you have to take into consideration what your personal values are and how much effort that you are willing to put into it. All right, we're going to do another heat. All right, back in the forge, and then we're going to start focusing in on the horn of the anvil so we can get a lot more drawing out in a shorter amount of time. All right, so I'm actually going to move the anvil camera so that we are nice and centered on the horn. Might move it forward a little bit too. There, that works. Now I need to focus it, because manual focus and all that. Fancy schmancy. Alrighty. And no, can you see it? No, you cannot see it. As far as I'm aware, you cannot see the other camera in this camera. I'm already done with this water. So it is not actually all that hot today, but it is super humid. It's like, what temperature is it today? I don't even know. Nope, we cannot. Good. I'm glad. I'm going to grab another water real fast. But like I said, it's super humid, but it's not amazingly hot yet. That will probably change, you know, as time goes by. But it is super humid. Kind of sticky. All right. Got to keep your streamer hydrated. I put my lid on cockeyed. It's supposed to cool down here tomorrow and into the weekend. Hopefully it goes that way for you too. I heard that it was actually supposed to cool down a lot by Friday because it's supposed to storm here soon. There's a part of me that does want it to storm and cool down, but then I also, last weekend, we got this like spray on roof sealant, but there's a couple places that we still need to use some like caulking to seal up all of the like holes in this, because like we have this like little whirly gig that's sitting inside of the roof, and the sealant cracked out of it, so we had to reseal it. And there's still a few holes that we haven't been able to get done because I didn't have a caulk gun. So we need to do that this weekend, and I really want to do that before it storms next. So I'd love the cool weather, but I'd rather have a dry, ceiling and roof. My partner just got home from work. Yeah, we got the storms in the past couple of days. It's 100 degrees in Dallas today. Ew. Although on Monday it was about 100 degrees here, and I think last Friday too. So it's been super, super hot. So I'm really looking forward to the storms cooling things off. Because I come out here and I'm still streaming. So, when 100 degrees and then the forge going too, it turns into like 120, 130 degrees. And then I just feel like I am melting. Hey, Tyler. Welcome to chat. Welcome in, welcome in. So I'm going to clean off a little bit of the scale, and then I'm going to do another heat. And like I said, we're going to focus in on the horn of the anvil so that we can draw that out a lot faster. So let's do that. All right. All right, more heat. So today I'm kind of not letting the piece of steel get any cooler than a bright orange because I really want to move the steel really fast. And I need it to be really nice and hot so that it'll just speedy, it will draw down really fast and speedy like. Have you considered an emoji for more heat? I haven't in the past. I do have an emoji for one more heat, but more heat could totally be a thing. Maybe I can make an emoji for that. I'll have to write that one down. Let me write that down, and then that way I will remember to actually do it. We'll do it on the Discord. That way I am forced to look at it. I feel like I have like a to-do list on the Discord. Project suggestions. More heat. Emote. There we go. I need more emojis. I think that I think I have all of the slots for the animated emojis taken up, but I don't have any good just pixel art emojis for the subscribers. I think that I think that I'm full on the non-subscriber tier, but I don't think I have any non-animated ones for the subscriber tier. So we'll see. We'll see where I add those. I use Discord as a journal of my activities and projects. I kind of have started doing that myself. Um, so I watch a lot of VTubers, and my favorite is Giga. She's a VTuber here on Twitch, and she actually, a lot of her streams start about midway between, or like in mine. So when I'm done or when I'm editing, I will, watch her stream for a little bit. She was talking about the other day about how she has her own notepad Discord server that she's the only one in it, and she just uses it as a journal and like a scheduler or so, a planner. So I've kind of started doing that a little bit. I'm picturing Tim the Toolman Taylor saying more heat and grunting. That would be a great one. I also think that maybe it would be good to like have a SpongeBob-esque emote where it's like, you know, what time is it? It's blacksmith time, or I guess maybe that's a Tim the Toolman Taylor one. It's tool time, where it's blacksmithing time. I don't know. We'll have to workshop that. All right. I do have an ad here starting soon, so I'm gonna wait for that guy to end before I do our next heat. But I am also going to check my clips to make sure that I don't end up spending 20 minutes uploading my wide shot clips and stuff like I have been. Because the longer my clips in the cameras, the longer it takes to upload them onto my hard drive so I can edit them. I also, another thing that I need to add to my list of things that I need to do. I still need to make my 9-month subscriber badge. I gotta come up with another tool for it too. Because all of my subscriber badges are different types of hammers and tongs and things like that. And so I need to come up with another emote. I tried to do, like right now I have, I have 3 or 4 different types of hammers, and then my 6-month subscriber badge is a pair of tongs. Or they're the bolt tongs like we use here. And I'm talking about our subscriber badges. I need to make a 9-month subscriber badge for you guys. I got up to 6 months, and then I was like, I have plenty of time for that 9-month badge. And it's starting to, we're starting to get there. So we might actually need that 9 months pretty quick. So most of them are hammers, and then after I did like 3 or 4 different types of hammers, we got into the tongs, right? And so I did a set of bolt tongs, and then I tried to do a set of just flat jaw tongs, and they didn't look like anything. So I kind of got to figure out what's another good tool for a subscriber badge, like the 9-month subscriber badge. I also had considered, all of the subscriber badges are gray right now. I had considered turning them from gray to gold. But I think I need a few more tools first, like all the way up to like maybe a year. We can do the silver, and then for year 2 we can do gold, or we can start doing gold. A golden anvil. Yeah, one of the subscriber badges I believe is an anvil. I can't remember what month it is. But I gotta do a few more of those. I did not tell you guys, but I did actually decide on what my touch mark is. So every blacksmith has a touch mark, and they kind of hammer it on all of the pieces that they make. So I decided on a design, but I have yet to have the touch mark itself made. So you can see my touch mark in the bottom right hand corner of all of the YouTube videos. That's my touch mark. It is my signature. My name is really short and it has a lot of zigzagging. So as I started signing things over time, it got shorter and shorter, and then it just became like a giant loopy doop. And so I want to make that into my touch mark. All right, we are going to do another heat. Maybe I should push that over. No, I think that's the best place. Nice. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy with it. I just need to have it made. More heat, more heat. Once I get my touch mark made, I can start putting that on all of my pieces, or all of the pieces that we make together. And that way, if I, do a drawing to give a piece away or, sell some pieces here and there, they'll have my touch mark on them. And people in the future will be like, oh, that was made by Ray from Ray Smithy. I really wish I had one now, because if I did, I would have touch marked our hammerhead. I still need to figure out a touch mark. My logo is too detailed to shrink to a touch mark, so I can't use that. Yeah, see, that's the issue, right? I had so many ideas for touch marks, and a lot of them were super, super intricate. And I mean, a touch mark is only about yay big. It's tiny. So it has to be legible at any size, really. I enjoy Alex Steele's touch mark because he's kind of got like that S, and it's kind of like two round wedge shapes. And I think it's really simple. It's very legible, and he can make touch marks himself. He doesn't have to order them done by some laser engraver like I would have to, because it's just such a simple shape. I thought about doing something like that too, but I wasn't happy with any of the things that I could come up with. I needed something that would fit the brand, I had thought about doing like a rising sun because my name is Ray, and my mom always said that I was her ray of sunshine as a kid. But I wasn't happy with anything I came up with. But this time I'm pretty happy with it. Alrighty, let's do another heat. It's an original. Yes. Exactly. All right, so I'm going to take a look at this other side, and we're going to compare the two. It looks like this is a little bit on the longer side, so we might be able to bring that forward a little bit, that little piece of isolation there. We can bring that forward, and then it looks like this is as long as that first knuckle joint. So I need to bring this back further. So that's going to be, oh, and it's way too thick. So we'll spend a little bit more time. There. So I do have this weird obsession with my name, right? So my name rhymes with a whole bunch of different things, you know, like Ray, Day, Play, May, whatever. And so I have a tendency to name all of my RP characters like in D&D and like just, you know, my MMOs and things like that with things that include my name. So I have a Dungeons and Dragons character named Raven because, you know, Ray Ben, and I have Ray Gun and a bunch of other names too. It got a little bit confusing after a while though, trying to figure out which one was which class. So I started diversifying. Over time, you know. It's a lot harder to have your D&D characters talking about, you know, their mothers and fathers and, you know, subsequent characters when they're all named the same thing. Also, people got really confused about, or when I was playing MMOs, as to which character did what thing. There's a t-shirt company called Raygun. They make funny and sometimes political shirts. Do they? I know that there is a breakdancer that was in the Olympics that was named Ray Gun from Australia, I think. I got a hard time about my name being Ray Gun for a while, but I've had that name for like how many years? I don't know, like almost 15 or over 15 years. I've been using that name for like my gamer tag. So, you know, I had it before it was cool. Just name them Ray 1 to Ray 100 or several hundred. I mean, it could be that way. You know, it'd be like Ray and their child could be Ray Jr. and their child can be Ray the second and so on and so forth. I think that works. Every time my character dies, their progeny. That's what you guys do, right? When you have, if you playing D&D, you roll a character, and when that character dies, it's their child is your next character, right? That's kind of what I do. All right, we're gonna do another heat. Need to come over here because I've gotten some weird angles going on. And I need to kind of shore up my right angles. If my character dies, I complain until I get a res. See, I mean, I've done that too. So we have this rule in at our table that there are no permanent character deaths unless there's a party wipe, right? So if everybody you know, if everybody gets knocked out or dies or whatever, then we roll a dice and one person loses their character. That way it's fair, right? Everybody dies, so we don't pick like the first one or the last one. We just kind of let the dice decide who permanently dies. I think that's I don't even think we've ever had to use that rule, but like we have changed campaigns. So like we'll end a campaign and then we'll start a new one. So that's how I end up changing my characters in the end. Man, my D&D group has been on hiatus since I think it was like June. We've been on a hiatus where we're not starting up again until September because summers are always really, really hard for all of my friends to get together. Because one of them is a parent and is constantly going around with kids during summer because, you know, they're not in school anymore. And then I have another friend who plays with us, and he is a sailor in the Navy, and so right now he's doing a tour, and so he can't play because he's on a ship right now. So he gets home in September, and we'll start back up when he gets back. But I kind of miss my D&D group, you know? It'd be like not seeing you guys for, you know, all summer long. I would be very, very sad. All right, we're going to do another heat. Straighten that out just a little bit because it's starting to bend. Ooh, we're not getting much bounce right now for whatever reason. Back in the fire. We can always see you. Meanwhile, hearing you is a different story. Yeah, that is true. That is so true because I have a whole bunch of VODs up and I have the YouTube and stuff. You would totally see me there, and I mean, you could see me on the Discord. There, you know, I am always available for answering questions and things like that on the Discord. See, I don't get to see you guys or hear you guys, you know? I suppose I could hear you guys if I did TTS, but I don't know. I think it would be jarring to hear, like, because I mean, I don't mind a TTS of like things that are, you know, maybe related to blacksmithing, but something weird, I don't think I could do that, you know? The Twitch asymmetry. Oh, I was rather referring to the sound issues earlier today. Oh, that makes sense too. That makes sense. That makes sense. I did have to mute myself a few times. But yeah, I mean, I'm out here. You guys can see me, but I can't see you guys, you know? And I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. You know, I think that it would be fun to meet some of you guys and like see you guys. But, you know, I also don't think that I would like a huge audience just sitting in my shop watching me do this stuff. I think it would not be the same. I think I'd be a little bit more nervous. Nice to see more Smithies on Twitch. Yes, welcome to the community. I stream Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 2:30 Eastern, I think. I'm Central, and it's 1:30 that I start normally for me, but I try to give people times in Eastern, and sometimes I'm not amazing at translating that. I'm on Facebook and Instagram mostly, completing doing a Twitch when I get my garage more organized. Yeah, that makes sense. And I mean, Twitch isn't for everyone either, you know? It does take some guts to get up here and talk to people, and because not everybody is as nice as you guys are, you know? And you guys have been amazing, and you're kind and friendly, and, you know, but not everybody's like that, you know? It's kind of scary putting yourself out there and, you know, getting, you know, afraid of getting negative comments and stuff. Like, you know, the first time I put things out on YouTube, I was definitely afraid of the negative comments. And I have gotten a few, you know, but it is what it is. And I really enjoy it. This is worth it to me. My family is Central as well. I'm Eastern. Yeah, a lot of I feel like Eastern is a lot easier for people to understand because I have a very international audience, people from Europe, and I do have a few from Asia and the South Pacific as well, like viewers. So I feel like it's a little bit easier for the European section at least to translate into Eastern. And a lot of people just do translate a lot of stuff to Eastern or Pacific, but Eastern is a little bit closer to me. If you want us to train you, we can be mean as you wish. Just let us know. See, I don't know. I think I'd rather have, you know, the encouragement and the niceness that you guys bring to the community. It makes me happy to get out here and, you know, just start streaming. Some days I'm already exhausted, and it takes a bit of effort and convincing to get me out here. And all of you guys' positive comments and support, I don't want to disappoint you guys. So that is my reason for coming out here. So, you know, we're going to do another heat though. I got to make sure that I remember that we need to do heats too, and we're not just chit-chatting here. I got to get work done. Now we're going to straighten this out a little bit. And I'm going to check our guide. This is still a little bit too fat, but I think we've got a nice length here. So I want to fix this real fast and a little bit back here. And then we'll flip it around and start drawing out the reins. So back in the fire we go. Wait, we're supposed to be nice? No, sir. I don't like that. Just remember, you're making a good chunk of my shift fly by faster. And good evening, Dark. Welcome to the stream. It's been a while since we've seen you. All right, I'm going to move the camera real fast, or like the close-up camera, because we're going to be doing a little bit more in the center of the anvil, and I want you guys to be able to see that a little bit closer. I want to make sure that all of the stuff, or you know, is in the middle of the frame instead of on the edge. And we're going to go like that. Oh wait, you know what? It helps when you focus the camera. There we go. I used to use autofocus, but every time I use autofocus, it just decides randomly that it wants to start focusing on stuff behind me. It really loves the quench bucket back here. It's like a yellow cat litter bucket, and it likes to ignore the anvil and focus on the cat litter bucket. So yeah. You guys are supposed to be nice. Or at least I hope you're nice. Truth is, it's been a while. Don't tell me you miss me. I did miss you. recognize a lot of you guys that chat in the chat, and so I do actually notice when you're not chatting anymore. So I mean, I do miss you when you don't chat. So if you were a regular chatter at one point and you're out there but you're not chatting, you know, I do miss you. All right, I'm gonna get another water real fast. It is super humid today. And I gotta keep hydrated. I'm like trying not to be a Tamagotchi. You guys shouldn't have to, you know, remind me. I gotta be a Tamagotchi with other things, you know, like help messing with the sound and stuff. I remember one time I started the stream and I started this whole long introduction and everything, and I looked up and Ping's like, I don't remember if it was Ping or Mahalo, but one of the two of you were like, Ray, I can't hear you. You're muted. Meh, sharp video on stream, intelligible sound, nice viewers. So boring. Thank you. Yeah, I've had a rather busy schedule lately. I figure, you know. I figured you've been driving trains. Draining trains? I don't know if that's a thing. I don't know that you would drain a train, but you can drive one. How did I get a blister? I don't know if it's a blister from like the hammer or if it's a blister from a burn. Weird. So yeah, I try to be entertaining, you know, and less boring. I mean, eventually sometime in the future, probably mid distant future, I will actually get a new set of mics. But honestly, I stole these mics from my partner. They aren't actually supposed to be in use for this, but I just kind of, they were loaned to me and I just never gave them back. Most heard sounds in Teams meetings at work. If you're saying something, you're still muted. Yeah. Yeah. Man. See, I have the opposite problem. Like when I'm rating in a video game, I use just voice activated chat. So I'll put my headphones on, I'll unmute myself, and then I'll start talking to my partner who isn't in the voice channel with me. And then people get really confused by the one-sided conversation. So I need to remember to mute myself a lot. Well, driving was just part of being busy. Yes, I am a klepto. I also stole another microphone for several weeks. Remember when I had the lav, some of you who have been here for a while will remember that I used to have the lav mic on the wide camera, and then I had a shotgun mic on the close camera, and I had two different mics. The shotgun mic was also not mine, and my partner actually needed it. So he didn't have it when he needed it, and it's because I stole it. Place 2. Can you already see my screen? Yes. Hey, Jack, welcome in. Welcome in. Yeah, or like, you know, when I think that my screen is not on, or, you know, my visual isn't on, and you can see me like picking my nose or something, you know, on Teams. All right, I'm going to do another heat real fast. And we're going to bring back that isolation a little bit. We're going to do that by this, or by upsetting this a little bit. That way we get to kind of keep the clean shelf without, or while we are making it shorter, I guess. If that made any sense, it probably didn't, but I try. All right, how we looking? It helps when you grab the piece and not another set of tongs. Okay, that's a little bit better. All right. Mo heat, mo heat. What am I smithing today? So I am working on a set of pickup tongs. And what I mean by pickup tongs is a pair of tongs that kind of looks like this. This pair of tongs was specifically made so that I can pick up large blocks of steel, like this guy right here. This is a hammerhead that we just finished the forging on. I still need to do a lot of grinding on that, but I won't have time to do it until this weekend. So I can actually use these tongs to kind of, maybe, if I don't drop it, pick up the large pieces of steel. But, I mean, they aren't working very well, as you can kind of tell from the fact that I dropped that. So I need to make another set of them that work a lot better, because I want to make an axe next. Next scene, police busting into the smithy as the owner came home and was wondering what foreign weird woman was doing stuff in there with some camera setup. Yeah. You know, stolen shop or stolen house. I did not steal my house. And I mean, I guess, you know, I am actually married to my partner. So, you know, your stuff is my stuff, right? That's part of the vows, right? So we are currently in ad time. So, I guess I'm just gonna, you know, kill a little bit of time until the ads are over, and then we'll continue talking. But yeah, I have taken over some a little bit more equipment than I was originally supposed to take over, but I think that it's working out pretty well, and eventually we're going to start making a decent amount of money, and it's going to be worth it in the end. I know it. All right, looks like the ad time's over. So I'm going to do another heat real fast. All right, there we go. Okay, we're going to flip this around. Change tongs again. And put this back in the heat. So we're going to draw out the reins next. Whoops. As I grab a hold of it on the way out. Yeah, I know. My awful humor hasn't changed a bit. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. In Germany, at least, you can make a marriage contract stating the possessions are kept separate. Yeah, in the United States, it's kind of like you do have the option to do like a prenuptial agreement and stuff like that. I was just being, facetious on that. I wouldn't actually keep a thing that my partner needed, needed unless I had permission. So I do have permission to have like the lav mic and stuff because I use it more than my partner ever did. So, it's getting used. Alrighty. Oh, I put that in there, didn't I? It's not hot yet. Alright, so we do still have plenty of propane because I have that little gauge in there and it'll tell me when I start running out of propane. I am a little bit worried about it because, like I said, I forgot to buy propane today. It was in the plan to buy propane and also another tip for the torch that I use to light it. I want to get one of those like nifty clicky ones. So it still takes the same like little blue propane things, but it's like a clicky one. It's all fancy and stuff. I was going to show it to you guys and be like, look how fancy I am now. Let's see, what else is going on? So I think we're actually on a pretty decent track to be able to finish these tongs on Friday. So we will probably use the drill press to drill out the rivet hole. I do have a little bit of finessing that I want to get done on both sides of on the other side that I'm not currently working on. So we will probably do that finessing work, and then we will also work on riveting the two together and then tweaking them once they are together. So that'll be Friday's stream. And then on Monday, fingers crossed, I will have these done so that we can start on our axe. I do need to take a trip over to the steel supplier. There's a new one that I didn't even know existed, one town over, and they actually have 4140 in stock. So we're gonna grab that for our axe. I always wonder why so many people on the YouTube videos start their forges with map gas torches when propane is so much cheaper. It is so much cheaper, but map gas is actually, a lot of people keep it do it because map gas is, it burns a lot hotter. And so if you need to heat a little tiny section of your steel, you can actually use that map gas torch to, for bends and to reheat the end of a rivet and things like that. So it's just convenient to only have to buy one bottle, I think. And I think that's why people do that. I have a second torch that is actually an oxy map gas torch, and it takes bottles that are the exact same size as those little blue ones that I use to light the forge. And I can actually set it up like an oxyacetylene rig, and I can cut things with it. I can solder. I can do stick welding with it. Just, it's really convenient, but it only lasts for like 5 minutes because it's so tiny. That's true. Yeah, I mean, if you can use multiple tool or like if a tool has multiple uses, then it warrants its space a lot more than a tool that only has one use. A lot of people have really limited spaces. I know I do. I only have a 1-car garage here as my shop, and then I have like the shed that's out back, like attached to it, my cold shop. But I mean, I really don't have all that much space for the setup that I have. So every tool I have has to be useful enough that it warrants the space it takes up. All right, we are going to do our first heat on the reins of this second hand. You know what? That blister is from the hammer. I can feel it developing worse. All right, I'm going to put this back in the heat. What have I done? Clearly, I have not been forging or hand forging enough. I have lost the calluses on my hand. Or if I have lost the calluses on my hand. Goodness gracious. I feel like I need to turn in my blacksmith card. I need to redevelop the calluses on my hand if they're gone already. It just feels weird, you know? That, and I have also cut my fingernails today. Normally I let them grow out because when I was a jeweler, it was really convenient to file little grooves into like my thumbnail and like my pointer finger, and then I could hold little tiny pieces of metal like earring backs and like the posts for earrings and like chains and things like that while I was polishing them or, you know, soldering things. It was really, really convenient. And then I could just clip off the little filed section that I had or that I had made. And then, you know, it looked weird when I only had these two as long ones. So it's just a habit now to grow them out for that purpose, even though I am not a jeweler anymore. I wouldn't trust the hands, right? I own tools. Just because I own tools does not mean that I am, you know, that I am a knowledgeable blacksmith. But yeah, I mean, seriously, what is with this? This is my favorite hammer. I don't understand why the calluses are gone. It's so weird. Oh well, I will develop them over again and then they'll be back. And I won't have to worry about it anymore. All right, let's do another heat. All right. So I'm going to move over to the horn of the anvil for our next heat. We're going to start drawing out that rain. I definitely want to make it at least as long as the other one, if not longer, because I think the other reins are too short. And I think that I might do a little bit of this on the press. Ray's becoming more of a lady than a smith. Ugh. I can't have that. I mean, seriously. If I became too ladylike, then, you know, people wouldn't ask me about why, you know, I'm a blacksmith, you know? True, I meant to say that you have your own personal tools. I do have my own personal tools. I don't really need to file in the grooves in my nails anymore, but you know, it's a habit at this point. Well, in internet forums, people tend to judge your professional or you professionally by the price of your tools. Nah, well, says Smithy, not lady. It is. It is. You know, it says Smithy. Raise it Smithy. You know. I'm gonna move the camera real fast. So that it is over by the press. Nah, in all honesty, losing the calluses on my hand is not, or you know, the calluses on my hand are not what make me a smithy. You know, I know that, and I'm sure you guys know that as well. Really, the reason that my calluses on that particular or in those areas is gone is because this handle is a different shape than the 2-pound hammer that I've been using, so my calluses have moved. So after that, or after the axe, comes a makeup tutorial. Yes. The brain calluses make you a smith. Yes. And like I said, I do actually have calluses on my hand. They're just not in the right spot for this particular hammer. So I just need to, you know, develop a callus over the entirety of my hand, right? I get blisters if I don't hammer or play guitar bass often enough. Yeah, that's really the deal, right? I've been spending so much time using my 2-pound hammer, and I haven't really been using my 3-pound or this 3-pound hammer. So that's why that my calluses have moved, and I just don't have the ones for this particular hammer anymore. Your hammer. Yeah, my hammer. Is this camera in the shot? No, it's not. It's just barely outside the shot. I'm pretty good at this nowadays. I'm getting pretty good at like moving the cameras and stuff. All right. Still miss me? I do. I do miss people. I mean, if I didn't miss you, you know, band hammer. But I did miss you, so you are here, and I'm happy to see you. Man, I spaced out for a moment there. Just say a word and I'll disappear back into the void. Nah, stick around. We like everybody so far. So every time I use the press on a brand new taper, the way when I use the rounded dies or the rounded side of the dies, it always makes me think that they look like crinkle cut French fries. And then after I see the crinkle cut French fries, I think about South Park, and when Cartman does the his skiing lessons, and the ski instructor's all like, pizza, French fries, pizza, French fries. So that's what the press makes me think of for some reason. French fries, pizza. I've never actually skied, but I imagine that that's a real thing. My partner has been skiing and said that that was a real thing. You know, the instructors, they really say, keep the French fries. So weird. I grew up in an area that did actually have a ski resort, but it was kind of expensive to go to it, so I just never got to. I think I went one time with like a youth group of some type, and we did tubing instead of skiing. I, let's see. I am starting to run out of my third, which means I'm gonna have to go and get a Gatorade. I was hoping that I wouldn't drink nearly as much today because, like I said, it's not as hot as it has been. But when I opened the door to the shop today, it was actually hotter in the shop than it was outside. So that's saying something. Goodness gracious. So earlier today, at about 8 o'clock in the morning, I started getting ready to upload today's video, like the long form version of the Rose video for YouTube, and I made the thumbnail for it and I rendered out the video and then I went to upload it and I didn't have any internet service and I'm it's happened 2-3 days in a row that like I've just had no internet service for random reasons. And so I reset the router because I was afraid that, you know, I'm having internet issues again. But a reset router fixed the problem. So I don't know. It makes me nervous though. After fighting for so long with the internet service provider, I'm hoping that it's just, you know, that I need to reset the router occasionally. So crazy. But it seems to be working out pretty well. Seems to be working. We did have that one interruption, but that was really because I had to, you know, reset the sound. All right. I think I'm going to do another heat. Another heat. Spin our French fries around. The press is actually playing nice today, guys. And just as I was thinking that, I like the little handle kind of rejiggered itself again, but you know, I was able to fix it in like a little bit, and then it was smooth again. That's impressive to me. Making lots of French fries. glowy French fries. So, I'm planning on doing the axe as the next project starting on Monday, and I have already decided that I kind of want to make two axes: the folded axe that we've already talked about for Monday, and then I would like to do a punched axe. Um, so what do you guys? What other projects are you guys thinking? I know that there's a few projects in the Discord as suggestions. Like Ping gave me the suggestion for a cup holder. I've seen like a suggestion for a tool holder. Or like a steel holder. I did actually think about making a steel holder at one time, like just a because I was gonna use the design that Black Bear Forge has, where it's just like you put it in the pritchel hole and then it just kind of bends over and holds the steel when you put it in the pritchel hole. And then I realized that it wouldn't work right because half of my plate is missing, so I have to redesign or use a different design. So I think Dan's design is pretty good. I've seen a couple other designs. Cup holder for the shop. Yeah, I definitely need a cup holder for the shop. Although I did see a really neat cup holder at Harbor Freight the other day. We were looking for tool, like tool holders and storage for the van the other day, and they have magnetic cup holders that magnet onto the big tool chest that they sell. That thing was awesome. I think we're gonna buy a couple for the van so that we have holders or cup holders in the back of it. Motorcycle chain with a foot stirrup is a good hold down, attached to the far side and drapes over. Yeah, that is the method that Dan, or like that's the design that Dan used. He sent me a couple pictures of it, so I'm thinking maybe eventually I might make something like that. There's also like just putting a chain on a piece of steel. So it's like if you have a really long steel, then you kind of put one half of it on the anvil and another half of it on like a tool rest, and then you put a chain on it and that'll hold it down too. So I don't know. I'll come up with something eventually because having a tool holder or like a steel holder would be really, really nice for times when I'm like, drifting holes and stuff. So we shall see. I'll come up with something. But if there's anything else that you guys would like to see, you can totally post that in the Discord channel. I've got a whole channel for project suggestions. I do have some more bucket list projects that are not on that list that I am thinking about doing in the future. But we haven't gotten that far. Like I said, I really want to make some Damascus, but I have to get a hold of 1095 and 15N20 to get that nice contrast. And those can be kind of expensive. So eventually we'll get to that point where we'll spend that money and we'll do it, but it might take me a little bit of time. Gotta save those pennies. One of these days, I'm going to add like lemonade powder to my water bin. That way, it's not just straight water and it has some kind of flavor to it, I think. I don't know though. What would be worse? Hot, like straight water or hot lemonade? I don't know. I don't know what would be worse. 1084 is better than 1095 for heat treatment unless you have a temperature controlled oven. I do actually have a kiln that I have over here. I do need to get a parameter for it, but once I get a parameter for it, I can set it up so that it will hold at specific temperatures and things like that. So it should work pretty darn well for tempering. Like I said, I just need a parameter for it. It functions. It's beautiful. It's big. We can make a big old knife if we wanted to with it. All right, another heat. So this time we're gonna focus on the high sections. Mothman ate my butt. I have arrived, but I'm gonna be driving, so I'll just be listening. Hope you're all doing well today. Welcome to the stream. We do have an ad here going on right now, but I will again welcome you to the stream and say hi once the ad is done. You know what? I totally don't have my activity feed up. So I will go through my activity feed and I will thank you guys for your follows once that ad is over with. I'm gonna grab a Gatorade real fast and I will be right back. Because I just finished my water. I just finished my water. Ooh, blue today. It would have been nice to have red, but we're in blue territory today. Alrighty, so now that ad is over with, I forgot that I killed my Twitch activity feed, and I do that, or I have to do that because my screen is really magnified, so I can't turn on and off the different like cards on my stream, so like I can't change between the intro and like the regular stream while those are up. So I have to kill it, and sometimes I forget to bring it back. But Mothman, thank you so much for joining the stream. Welcome to the community. Thank you, Triadex, for that follow 46 minutes ago, and Ultimate Does. Thank you so much for that follow an hour ago. Tannerillium asks, those headphones are ear protection. They are both, actually. It's that loud there. Okay, yes, it actually is that loud there. If you are interested, I could unplug my sound dampening device, and you could kind of hear what it sounds like without. Right now I have noise cancellation on, and it is super, super loud in here, or it can get, especially when I've got the press going. It's super, super loud. I can barely hear myself talking. Smithing similar is being used in gun ranges. Yeah, these are actually for chainsaws, because they are Bluetooth, so I can Bluetooth them to my phone and listen to music. But I don't listen to music while I'm streaming. So, but I have considered buying just gun sound canceling headphones. The reason I use sound canceling headphones instead of orange foamies is because my ear canals are tiny and those things always fall out of my ears. I can't keep them in. So yeah. So I'm gonna change my sound real fast. And you can kind of hear the, just like the ambient noise. So that's with and without noise suppression. So I've got an industrial fan over here. The forge is really loud, and this is the loudest right here. It protects your hearing, but you can hear the range master and yourself. So it just eliminates the loudest sounds, but you can speak normally. Yeah, and that is definitely the case. I definitely want to be able to hear the forge and the low roar, because when the gas starts going or like running out, then the forge starts puffing. And when that forge starts puffing, I know that I need to turn that thing off, because I don't have a backflow regulator on this particular one. So if it starts puffing like that, there's always a chance that the flame will go back through the hose and into the propane tank, and that would cause an explosion. So I have to be really aware of what all is going on in the shop. One of these days, I will find a backflow regulator, though. What about heat? How is the temperature in the room/studio? So, this is the mailbox. It is a very small forge, so this thing only really affects the area around it, about this far. And the closer you get to the little guy, the hotter it gets. It probably affects the temperature by 15 to 20 degrees. Now, the big guy, when I have this guy turned on, it heats up the entire shop. And so that is a 20 to 35 degree difference between the ambient temperature with and without the forge on. Colder than my mixtapes. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's on your mixtapes. You got some hot music? So right now it is, what temperature is it? I can tell you yesterday, but today I don't know what temperature it is. I didn't look because it was just cooler. It looks like it is 89 degrees outside, so it is probably close to 100 in here. Do you also work with gold? Am I a goldsmith? I am a journeyman jeweler. So I also do silversmithing, so I could translate those and combine those skills, and I could do goldsmithing if I wanted to. Fahrenheit or Celsius? That is Fahrenheit. So about 100 degrees is 37.7 degrees Celsius. And that's about the temperature that it is right now in this shop. All right, I'm going to do another heat. I'm going to turn on the press. But I mean, I think I would be dead if it was 100 degrees Celsius in here. I straightened this out just a little bit on the anvil before I came over. Back in the fire we go. Good progress today. Yeah, I think we've had some pretty good progress. I am going to move back over to the base of the anvil because I want to straighten that out and kind of squish down that crinkle cut French fry. We will get a large jump in the next couple of heats at the forge while straightening that out. There are saunas with 100 degrees Celsius, but you are in there for just a short while. Sit still and then cool off. So survivable, even healthy, but not for long. Yeah, I think I spend way too much time in this smithy to allow myself to be in there for 100 degrees Celsius. All right. So, oh, my memory card is full. Dang it. That's what I get for not checking my wide camera enough. I let it run too long. And then it fills my card. But that's all right. Most of what I need from today's stream is the close-up stuff. And I still have the bod if I need it. But yeah, so we are coming back over to the anvil to kind of do a super stretch. Because right now we've been using the rounded dies and they've really squished a lot of like really small areas. So if I even that all out, it will super stretch it. And it will also straighten it out. We're getting a little bit of twisting because I can never quite get my jaw or the jaws of my press exactly like underneath of each other because I did not build them correctly. Whew, goodness gracious. As I smack my hip on the anvil again. All right, so we have about 45 minutes left in my scheduled stream. So we'll see how far we get between now and then. I really want to get both halves of our tongs to the same place. So this is our tong half from Monday. And we're getting there, but we do need to do a little bit more drawing out on the reins of that one, and then I also need to do the corners, the bends in this. Whoa. I have too much junk over here on my little table. I need to put some stuff away real fast. There we go. That's better. So if anybody else has any interesting questions, I'm always here and willing to answer them. Most of the questions I'm willing to answer are blacksmithing related or metal related. I'm less inclined to, answer personal questions, but you can always ask. I may not answer. All right, we are going to do another heat though. Woohoo! Lots of scale. All right, let's take a look between these two. Not too bad. We got a little bit more drawing down on, or to do on both sides of it. We need to move down a little bit this section here, but I knew that to begin with. And then a little bit more drawing on this side. It does look like we just need to thin this out just a little bit and we'll get that growth that we need. Couple more heats. So now that you've worked with the submarine steel a few times, would you say it behaves more or less like stainless steel when working? I do actually feel like it. It feels very much like stainless steel, because stainless steel is a lot more, it's a lot harder to work than mild steel. Mild steel is very soft, and while it does, once you get it up to temperature, it moves pretty easily. Stainless steel, it just doesn't stay hot nearly as long, and it is a little bit harder, so you don't have as much work time with it. But yeah, I would definitely say just like stainless. And then, ooh, I missed another comment. At a red light, if you become a notary public, would that make you a Will Smith? I mean, maybe. It depends on what I'm signing. Sometimes I would sign wills and sometimes not, just arrived at my place, and my question is, are there any rough equivalent metals similar in weight and strength to grade 5 titanium? I would honestly say that titanium behaves completely different than almost every other metal. It also does not alloy very well. I would say that the closest thing that I would, like the closest thing, and it is completely different, I would say would be cobalt. But it is a lot heavier than titanium, and it's a lot more brittle than titanium is. Titanium is pretty unique as far as metals are concerned. It has a lot of springiness, so if you move that metal, it has a tendency to go back into its original shape. So, but it is also incredibly light and incredibly strong, but it's nowhere near as brittle as cobalt is. Cobalt is incredibly brittle. If you were to take a cobalt drill bit and try to forge that into like a knife or something like that, you would almost certainly shatter that cobalt drill bit before you started forging it. Now, I have not worked extensively with titanium. I'm kind of drawing from the experience of friends that I know that have worked with titanium. It is a very interesting metal to work with, especially when you get into things like anodization. You can anodize titanium into all kinds of rainbow colors by electrifying it. It is also a process that can be done with aluminum, and that's a lot cheaper of a metal, but you can also get that same rainbow effect by electrifying aluminum. I hope that answered your question. If you need a more specific answer, or you don't understand, let me know. Sometimes I have a tendency to like say things that don't make a lot of sense. They make sense in my own head, but I also have information that maybe you guys don't have. You know, people can't read my brain, and sometimes I forget. All right, another heat. Am I sure that people can't read my brains? I mean, I feel like the closest person that can read my mind would be my partner. Sometimes we say that we share half a brain. But then sometimes he has that half of the brain, like that whole half of the brain, and then I don't have any of it, and so then I'm just a dummy. It does, thank you. I have been convinced to try and make a 3-pound battle bot within the next 2 years and competing with it. And everyone says grade 5 is the best material to work with. It's just expensive. So I was hoping for a cheaper equivalent. Yeah, I don't think that I would, because I mean, you could in theory use like a high carbon steel, but then you would actually have to temper it or harden it and temper it, and that would be like a whole process, especially if you're using it for a chassis on like a battle bot. You'd have to have a pretty darn big kiln, or in order to heat or to harden and temper it. So titanium is probably going to be the best. Also, if you were to use a high carbon steel, it would be so much heavier than the titanium. So your bot would be a lot slower than your competition bots. I'm glad nobody can read my brain. That little scares me sometimes. It's my own brain. Yeah. Every once in a while, you get those intrusive thoughts. Next question. Compared to modern finishing techniques, is it still practical to Japan metal? So I have heard the name of that process, but I don't know that I can remember, or like, because I don't know that I can remember what that technique actually involves. So if you can kind of describe it, or if you could, or I know that it has another name. So if you could describe it, or maybe give me the other name, I don't know if I will remember what it is. But then I could answer the question. But like I said, I can't remember what that technique actually involves. Once in a while, lucky you. I'm close to 24/7 on intrusive thoughts. I mean, not gonna say that, maybe a therapist might be able to help with that. Therapy saves lives, guys. Therapy saves lives. All right, I'm going to do another heat. Alrighty. Wikipedia description. And it is too long for the pop out that I have for my chat right now. Japanning is often a heavy black lacquer, almost like enamel painting. Black is common, and Japanning is often synonymous with black Japanning. The European techniques uses varnish that have a resin base similar to shellac, applied heat. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yes. I don't know. The last one I visited jumped out of the window after 5 minutes. Yeah. As far as therapy. Okay, so as far as Japanning, the technique that I learned was called oil blackening. It is where you take linseed oil or a similar oil, you paint it on a piece of metal, and then you heat it up, and that will blacken your material. So it is possible to still do that. I have a bottle of linseed oil over there. I have done the technique. However, it does produce noxious gases. So if you are doing that, make sure that you have an appropriate respiratory protection. And I cannot condone the use or like the use of the technique just because it does create noxious gas, and you need to be very, very careful with it. And even with it's really hard to get a proper respiratory protection for that particular technique. So not really something. There are other techniques that you can do that produce a similar effect. I would look into those. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I would go more with it because, like, you are going to get a similar effect if you are using an enamel paint, as you would with an oil blackening. Because even the oil blackening will scratch if it gets hit by I'm thinking an armor that gets slashed by a sword. It's still gonna scratch. So it is possible to do that technique. I don't recommend doing it. There are just so many easier, cheaper, and more healthy ways to go about doing that. Yep, powder coating is pretty easy now at the hobby level. Exactly. Would the best modern finishing be Cerakote? And how expensive would the basic supplies be? I am not familiar with, or I've never done a powder coating technique. I know that there are services around here that will powder coat things for you. It's kind of like, yeah, I have no experience with it, and I think it depends on your area as well. I promise I'll stop with the jokes. I don't know myself, but you could start at Brownells or another gunsmith supplier. Yeah, I mean, gunsmiths have like gun bluing, and that stuff, I believe that's just like you brush it on and it will just blue your material. I don't think that you have to heat it with gun bluing. So yeah, but like I said, I'm not amazingly familiar with powder coating and like the expense and stuff. I've just never done it. Usually I use fire scale, you know, as my coating. Sometimes I will do some brassing. So if you heat up a piece of steel and use a brass brush on it, molecules of that brass will transfer onto the steel. I also have been known to use spray paint, spray enamels. They have YouTube tutorials too. Yeah, YouTube is your friend. So I do have a ad incoming. So once that ad is done, I will do another heat. Sweet, I'll check it out. Thank you guys. Thank you, Moth, for the follow just this minute. Welcome to the community. Yeah, we have a very intelligent community. So if I don't have the answers, a lot of them do. And if we don't have the answers, they're really good at Wikipediaing things, you know? So people are super smart in chat. We have a lot, or they have a lot of answers, you know? They even have answers for me sometimes. Alrighty. So we are in the middle of another ad. What just happened? Oh, my follower goal was just updated. Yay! We completed a follower goal. That is so exciting. 250 followers. Man, the community is really starting to grow. That is super exciting. Super exciting. Congrats. Feels amazing. Yes. Yeah, I'm super excited. We have not actually been streaming all that long in the grand scheme of things. We've only been around for about 8 months. So I'm super excited that people have decided that they want to stick around and join the community. You guys are always welcome. I stream Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. And then, you know, I also post on YouTube under the same name. So, yay! Super excited. Super thank you guys so much for the support that you've given me and all of the love. That is what drives me to continue streaming. A lot can happen in a short period of time. It can. I mean, man, even the amount of stamina that I have regained over this amount of time is incredible. I never thought that I would get to the point where I could work for a half a day and, you know, just work again the next day. And things are just, I'm getting healthier, I'm getting stronger, more stamina, more community. I'm just so much happier now, you know? You're sticking with it and making things happen. Yes. And you're proud of me, Corwin. Thank you. I appreciate that. So yeah, you know, the goal is to, you know, become a source of knowledge and fun and community. So yeah. Okay, so we are gonna do another heat, and then I'm gonna compare the pieces together. This piece with that piece. The goal isn't world domination. I mean, maybe. I could totally do with, you know, the entire world watching Ray Smithy. That would be pretty neat. I don't know that I want to be the king of the world, though, or the queen of the world. Too much responsibility. All right, we're gonna check the 2 pieces again. Yowza. Yowza, there is a little bit of scale that keeps jumping around. All right, I think that's pretty close for the moment. We are going to be going back through on Friday and increasing the length of both of these guys. But I think we are good enough that we can turn this around and start working on the jaws of the tongs again. So I think that's what we're gonna do. All right. Friday will be my ultimate stamina test, smithing from 9 to 4. Ooh. That's a pretty good day of smithing, you know? Almost 8 hours. Good luck. I hope it works out for you. Rule the world. Just delegate all the power to me. Well, you know, I got to be able to trust people, you know. And you know, I do kind of trust you guys, but you know, I feel like I would want to be a little bit more hands-on, you know. Welcome in, Boston. Welcome to the stream. We are working on a set of pickup tongs. So this is one side that we made on Monday. Today is Wednesday, so I didn't make this on Wednesday. I made that on Monday. So I'm trying to make the other side right now. So we're gonna start working on these corners right here. Kind of trying to, you know, make 2 identical paths. And then on Friday, we're gonna finesse these a little bit more. We're going to use the new drill press to drill holes, and we'll rivet them together. Thanks. I'll be trying your water to Gatorade ratio. Yeah, it seems to work pretty darn good, honestly. So then you do, you know, 3 waters, a Gatorade, and then 3 more waters. But I have to say that this guy right here, 16 ounces. So if you're doing a bigger water bottle, you know, keep that in mind, that factor. Did you forge your own rivets? Usually I do forge my own rivets. I'm really bad at it though, so you know, I probably will, just because it's a pain in the butt to buy them. My hardware store doesn't carry like the type of rivets that I need for this. They only carry the pop rivets. So I will probably forge my own rivets, but we'll see. Have to run. Looking forward to the future streams. Maybe someday I'll be able to try forging myself. Well, thank you so much for joining. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you later. I do say forging is such an amazing craft to learn, but I will say, try to find someone local that is a smith or is a hobbyist, just so that you can kind of learn what you like, learn what you don't like, and, you know, get the safety spiel. I knew a frog one who was a blacksmith. He made the best rivets. Yeah, the best rivets. I don't know. That's a great idea. You think if I, you know, like jump around and rivet, then I'll be able to make rivets better? I mean, you never know. You got those like, those weird superstitions, like, you know, when football players don't change their socks and stuff, you know, because lucky socks. Maybe I should make that a ritual. We'll jump and rivet. Maybe that'll, you know, fix the rivet problem I have. If you did do it on stream, absolutely. I mean, maybe. Maybe we'll do that on Friday. We'll see how that works. Oh, I'm out of liquid again. Darn it. What time is it? We got about 15 minutes left in the scheduled stream, and it's probably going to take me maybe 20, 25 minutes to finish this, so I guess I should probably refill my water. This conversation is very riveting. Exactly. Such puns. Keep them coming. I love dad jokes and puns. It keeps the stream light, you know? Water, water everywhere. Well, actually, there's only water in my, in my water bottle and my jerry can. I'm glad there isn't water everywhere, actually. In fact, I'm trying to prevent water from coming through my roof. As Curie always says, you can teach yourself unless it is about safety. My default comment, self-teaching safety is also called learning by dying. Yeah. Yes, definitely. So that's part of the reason why I always say, find a local blacksmith, a local Abana chapter. You can go to the Abana website at abana.com. They actually have a find an affiliate and a find a blacksmith. And it is not just American or North American blacksmiths. They also include Australia, England, I guess not just England. I guess it would be the British Isles, and a little bit in Europe. So, you can find a blacksmith near you. Make sure that, reach out to one. They're very, very kind, and a lot of them are super willing to let you come and check out their shop. They will help you stay safe. Because you can actually kill yourself trying to blacksmith, so, be careful. Specifically, the gas forges. Those are the most dangerous. All right, we're going to do another heat. It is not likely that you will die from blacksmithing. But, I mean, a lot of things can be lethal. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take a look at this guy right here, and we're going to start. What length do we want this guy? We want it about there. So we're going to flip this on this side and then start moving that down. Helps if you're actually grabbing a hold of the piece. All right, how we looking? Not bad, not bad. So we're going to heat this guy back up. We're going to keep on working on this corner right there. But yeah, possible, not likely, still, be safe. We should go back to naming people after their jobs. Ray Smith or Maxon sits around video gaming. Yeah. I mean, that's a thing. It could happen. It could happen. It could happen. Not likely, but you could be the first. see. I don't know. It's starting to get late in the day, and I'm starting to get all tired out. So I'm taking me a little bit of extra time to come up with topics. So you guys got to give me topics so I can, bounce back and forth. Maxon or King sits around video gaming. First one of his name. Yeah. Exactly. Although there are a lot of, professions that have some very unfortunate names, Gotta be careful, I think. All right. We've got plenty of heat, so we're going to do this again. So do you measure and smith to plans, or do you just eyeball it and fix it in post? A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. It depends on what I'm trying to smith and the stakes. I am a lot more eager to eyeball things if I'm doing it for myself than if I am doing it for a client. But as I haven't had a client in quite some time, a lot of what I do for the stream is just eyeballing. Whoops. And dropping things. I do that a lot on stream too. That actually might be, my name with your naming convention. Ray who drops things on stream. That's pretty decent. Not bad. So I need to do the second bend now, which is the bend right there. Oh, shit. Whoops. I am not supposed to be. I promised myself I wouldn't curse on stream. I'm sorry, guys. But what happened is I accidentally wedged the piece inside of the mailbox, and it's so light that when I started trying to unstick it, the mailbox moved, and that could be a big problem. Ray drops a lot. Yeah. Dropper Ray sounds like a DJ. Yes. Dropper Ray drops those beats. I used to work for a DJ company. I've had a lot of really random jobs, and I worked at a DJ company one time. And I would set up like drapery and decorations for like weddings and things like that. And then I would also set up the DJ equipment so that the DJ could come in later on and do their sets. But yeah, it was an interesting job, but I learned a lot about sound. And I know that sounds odd because I'm constantly yelling about my sound and how it's being stupid. But this is different than DJ sound equipment, Apparently, slag gets caught in the auto mod. I will allow it though because I'm going to assume that you mean slag as in like the dross on a cast piece of metal or something like that. But yeah, I guess that's another thing that I didn't realize that the auto mod would catch. Yeah. Yeah, Boston, it caught it. So, I mean, I know that in Red Dwarf, they use the word slag as like an insult. So I do understand why they might why the auto mod might flag it. But yeah, it was a little odd when I first saw it until I remembered, you know. But yeah. All right. Did you finish the drift? I didn't have time to check on you in a bit, so I'm extremely curious how it's looking. So this is the drift right here. It used to be a lot shinier until I accidentally left it in the quench bucket overnight, and it kind of got a little bit dark. I'm not entirely sure why. And we used it to make this lovely hammer. Like so. So yeah, it has been a while since we've seen you, Vossen. Some German channels with default settings for auto mod will trigger on the German version of yep, the answer ja, as it seems to be an insult for a Japanese person. That's weird. So nice, yes. There's a type of forge well that the auto mod would flag. In context, it's not actually offensive. Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of stuff that becomes slang and can become, you know, insulting to certain groups of people. But if it's in context, it's really innocuous and it's not insulting at all. So that's why there's, you know, the ability to allow or deny within the auto mod. So as long as you know, a phrase or a word isn't actually meant in a derogatory way and is not actually a derogatory term, I usually allow it. Yeah, context is key for most things. Jada Moosman Estermal Glalben. There you go. I attempted to pronounce something in German. All right, I'm going to do another heat. We're going to do that secondary corner right there. You will have to believe it. Since World War II, you can't say the three-letter Japanese shortcut. I see. Good pronunciation. Well, that I find hard to believe. I never pronounce things correctly. I feel like I butcher other languages often. All right. Whoa. Whoopsie. There I go again, dropping things again. You know, being my namesake, you know. Dropper Ray. All right, let's take a look between the two. Not too bad. We kind of need to do a little bit of finessing. We definitely need to move this guy back a little bit. So I'm going to take a little bit of time on the horn of the anvil to kind of move that back. Except that it won't fit in there. So I'm going to turn this around and do that. Or at least I'm going to attempt to. Does she play heavy metal? I do play heavy metal. On the anvil, raindrops keep falling on my head. She plays heavy on metal. I do play heavy on metal. You know, this is kind of a heavy hammer. All right, So I'm probably going to do a couple more heats, maybe 1 or 2 more heats on this guy, just to kind of bring that back. We're going to do them on the horn, and then we'll probably raid off because I am starting to get a little bit warm and tired. And I've drank so much liquid, I really need to use the restroom. So we are so close to the end of the stream, so I'm gonna, I'm not gonna make you guys wait for me. My grandmother lets me sit on her chair. She tells me to rock on. Yes, rocking chairs. I totally had a design for a rocking chair that I really, really wanted to make before I got sick. So maybe sometime in the future, we will look into making some furniture, and maybe I can make that rocking chair as one of the pieces. A rocking chair made out of metal. Yeah, it was a rocking chair made out of metal. It was actually, the design was to do the rockers out of angle iron. I absolutely love doing angle iron furniture legs, and it was an interesting design. I had a drawing of it. It's kind of a simplistic drawing, but yeah. Def Leppard and Offspring. Don't know that one. Oh. Gunter Gleben, Glauchen, Glauben. Yeah, I recognize that intro. I just don't remember which one. All right. We're going to do our next heat, and then I will see how I'm doing. I named my home Wi-Fi. Pretty fly for a Wi-Fi. Nice. Def Leppard's Rock of Ages and Offspring's Pretty Fly for a White Guy. Yeah. I used to be an Offspring fan back in the day. All right. I'm gonna move this around like so, and I have straightened this out a little bit, so we will have to go back and rebend this. All right. I'm going to heat this up one more time, and we're going to do one more heat. And then we will raid off. Maybe. If I can get this thing to fit in the forge. There we go. That'll work. Getting older is mandatory. Growing up is optional. It's crazy they're still active. 60-something singing about teenage angst. Yeah. But I mean, I also feel like there's a lot of other bands that are like that too. So I used to also really, really love emo bands. And I've come to find out as I've gotten older that most of the emo bands that I listened to while I was in high school were like they were in their late 20s, early 30s, like most of the members. And I just thought they were talking about high school and all of that high school angst that I had. And come to find out, they were old dudes. I'm becoming an old person. So I have a birthday coming up next month. And I'm kind of debating whether I care to tell you exactly when and how old I'll be. But yeah, my birthday is next month sometime. Keith Richards isn't old. I mean, maybe. Not quite yet, Sandwich. I'm not quite going to be 40. Close, but not quite. The drugs preserve Keith Richards? I don't know. I think he's a vampire. Oh, to be young again, like 35. I mean, I'd take 35, you know? I would rather be 25, but I would take 35. When is your birthday, youngin'? I'll have to forge you a present. So it will be your second 39th birthday. Well, actually, it'll only be my first 39th birthday. I will be 39. You've already turned 29. That's the only birthday you need. The rest is just stacking experience. Exactly. So we've got an ad going on right now. So I'm going to wait until that ad is over. We'll talk a little bit and then I'll do my last heat. If there is anybody that you would like to raid off to, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see who's around. We have been raiding Mr. Boombody, and he does those interesting chainmail pieces. If he's not around, we'll see if we can't find someone new. My parole officer doesn't like me forging things. Ever since they seized the last stack of 20s I forged. Also ads. Man, you guys should be forging money. Should not be forging money. Whew. Super warm. Yeah, you guys should not be forging money. That's illegal. You guys could get in big trouble. I do have a story about forged cash. So if you guys want to hear that story, hit me up about it over on Discord or next stream, and I will tell you guys that story. Sandwich says they're 45 and wish they could say that, you know, it doesn't get worse, but it does. If they don't catch you, you can forge anything. I guess that's true. Because, I mean, you can break the law if you don't get caught, or at least some people think that. I'm gonna say, because I am on stream and, you know, people might be watching, like, you know, the FBI. Don't break the law. I do not condone breaking the law. The old joke, my driving examiner really didn't like me. You should have seen his face when they carried him away on the stretcher. Alrighty. One more heat. Let's do this. Is that the right size? That looks pretty darn good. pretty darn good. Okie doke. And I think that is it for the day. Thank you so much for joining me today. I have had so much fun. It has been a blast with you guys. I fought the law and the law won. Did you hear about the actress that stabbed her husband? Reese's Wither something? Thank you and have a nice day. Yeah, thank you guys so much. I had so much fun. All right. Let's see. Is anybody on? You know what? It helps when you put your outro on. I updated the outro. Give me just 1 second here. It's updated. Yay! Have a great evening. I may be in Friday if I'm